is how many of the Oilers forwards will be back next season. So of that group of 12 that played the final playoff game against
Mhm.
Vegas, how many of them will be back? So I'll break this down a little bit to start. There's the locks. McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, Nuge, and Evander Kane. Those 5 are coming back. I know you could be upset, and I am, with how Nuge, Kane, and Hyman played in the postseason, but those 3 guys make $5.5 million or less. You're not replacing their production and their contributions for less than that. So they're locks. They are back. You have your RFAs, which are McLeod and Klim Kostin. I think Ryan McLeod is a lock. I think Klim Kostin's not a lock. I could see him being like, hey, you guys played me 8 minutes a game in the playoffs and down the stretch. Why would I sign here? I want to go somewhere where I'm going to get a chance to play more minutes. I also think he liked Edmonton, and he's an RFA, so he doesn't have a ton of say. If the Oilers give him a qualifying offer, he might just have to come back. So I think there is a good chance Klim Kostin is back. I think McLeod's a lock. The first 5 I named are a lock, so you're at 7. I think one of Yamamoto or Fogle will be back. The decision is interesting. Both are wildly inconsistent regular season players. Fogle's had one bad playoff run and one really good playoff run. Yamamoto's had 2 quiet playoff runs. Now, you could say he's hurt, whatever. I get that. He has been banged up. I think the injuries took a big toll on him. Yamamoto's younger. Yamamoto's the only one with a 20-goal season under his belt. But Yamamoto's a bit more expensive. Yamamoto doesn't bring the physical intangibles that other GMs might like in a guy like Fogle. I think at the end of the day, Yamamoto's upside is still bigger. Yamamoto's trade value is higher. And the Oilers really aren't in a spot for a second straight offseason where they could pay a team to take an asset from them. If someone wants to come give you a 3rd-round pick, if a GM calls Ken Holland, calls him up, Kenny, I'll give you a 3rd-round pick for one of Fogle or Yamamoto. You choose. I'm torn on which one you would pick, but I think you give up Yamamoto just because he's more expensive. And I think Fogle's a better bottom 6 guy, and that's what you're looking for. Liam, which one would you pick?
I didn't hear the question. I was tuned out, Tyler.
That's okay. If a GM called and said, I'm giving you a 3rd-round pick for one of Fogle or Yamamoto, which one do you give up in the deal?
Yamamoto. I think Fogle, honestly, for me, it comes down to a bit of size, and Fogle has that, right? Like, they're very similar players in a lot of regards, but I think Fogle just brings that. I think he has a bit of more of an offensive upside. He has the penalty kill potential too, I suppose. And he had a report yesterday that he had been injured since February, which I thought was quite ironic because I feel like he got much better after the trade deadline and into the playoffs. But yeah, I think I would keep Fogle over Yamo right now.
And listen, Dave said this in the chat. Mike Dursa's in with it as well. The injury concerns are part of it. Listen, Kyler Yamamoto's a great guy. He fits in well in that room. I loved him as a prospect. When he first came to the team, I thought he was a breath of fresh air in that top 6 because of the tenacity he played with. It's the injuries with me, and it's the injuries, and he's more expensive. I think you can rely a little bit more on a guy like Warren Fogle next year to just play 82 games and play hard for you. He'll be heading into a contract year, which I know Yamamoto would as well, but I think you could expect a bit more consistency out of Fogle because he's playing for his NHL life next year. So I think I would give up Yamamoto and keep Fogle. Okay, so now we got the 5 locks, the 2 RFAs, and the 1 contract we're keeping in Warren Fogle. You're up to 8. So now we're on to the UFAs. I don't think Matthias Janmark's signing another contract in Edmonton. I think he's going to go somewhere else. I don't think Edmonton will offer him $1.25 million again. I think another team could offer him $1 million. It'll be a team in a warm climate, and he'll go there. I think Derek Ryan will be back. He told Bob Stauffer yesterday he wants to end his career as an Oiler. He wants to be in Edmonton, and I would call him up if I'm Ken Holland, and I would say, hey, Derek, you want to be here? We want to have you back. How's 850K sound? How's 900K sound? And if Derek Ryan wants to play in the NHL next year, that's probably his only option, is to take a 900K deal. So I think Derek Ryan will be back. I don't think Janmark will be back. Devin Shore, I would be like, hey, man, do you want to be a good role guy down in Bakersfield? You might get some NHL looks next year. Here's a 2-way deal worth $250K in Bako, $850K in the NHL. Well, you're welcome back if you want. I think he might take that, keep him in the organization, have him around for training camp as a black ace, all that stuff, sure.